Hello again, Cy Paris here, and on this video, I'd like to touch on high needs clients. And generally, we're speaking of people with high behavioral issues. These can be aggression, volatility. Some people will cross the line into some criminal behavior. You can look quite easily at some theft, stalking, aggression in the community. Um, some people will be compulsive liars. You have general sociopathic behavior, um, OCD even, and then you can even get into different levels of addictions, drugs, alcohol, and other, although that may be more in terms of if you're looking at foster care and that kind of thing, not as much with people with disabilities, but it can certainly touch on that. And also sexual issues, whether it's abuse or behavior that can be troublesome to some degree. Uh, Also a little bit lower kind of level, but also fairly serious is just things of like emotional dependency and clinging if there's that neediness there. And this may not seem as, severe in a sense, but it's one of those things that if it's that at a high enough level, if it's there just day after day and week after week and month and after month, it just grinds away at people. And it could something which, yeah, on the surface can seem like, oh, there's not a whole lot going on here. This person looks so easy to deal with. Uh, but yeah, over the long term, it can really wear people down. Also, you're looking at medical issues. This is so separate from that, and that can run the gamut of, you can look at medical issues, you can look at weight, people have heart conditions, whatever inherent, diseases they may have, going into the contract, there may be any sorts of numbers of complications there. So that's also something to consider. It's certainly not uncommon to have, especially if you're looking at the more intense contracts, that people have both behavioral and then high medical needs or physical needs. That also runs into hygiene issues. That's a common occurrence of people who have trouble with basic, cleanliness in one way or another, and things that, we don't like to talk about, and people always, you bring it up, it's like, but yeah, bodily functions, feces, urine, uh, comes up a lot. It comes a lot more than people would like to acknowledge, frankly. And I've personally dealt with that a lot, and it can really wear on you, really wear on you. I mean, there's nothing quite like, going out even for an evening or something and coming back home, after being out for a few hours. If it's a client that you can leave alone for like a couple hours and you come back home and the place just smells of like feces or urine, it just hits you, and it can be kind of depressing and take a lot out of you. It's not enjoyable, to say the least. It's not something you want to come home to, and that is kind of the critical element of doing home share. Of this is what you come home to. This is supposed to be a place of solace, right? This is supposed to be your cabin, your castle, wherever you find some comfort and that kind of thing. And that can very quickly deteriorate or be eliminated completely if you're with somebody who has a lot of these issues. And it's like, again, then what are you coming home to? When you step out even to get groceries, or you go out for a few hours with friends or whatnot, and do you then dread stepping back into your own home? That's a real consideration, and it's not something that's looked at a lot in this field. Also, a real issue is that it can take years, literally years, from when you start the contract to where you reach a point of relative stability um, with that person in that living environment. Often it can be 3, 4, 5 years, or even longer, 6, 7 years, for things to stabilize. It seems like a long time, but it's often, home share is a new environment for people, and a lot of like issues that these folks bring in with them have been just ingrained for decades. decades, and they may not be used to living in kind of close quarters. And there has been a real push. There's been, the system has wanted, okay, as I've mentioned before, to move people into HomeShare because that's a cost saving environment for them compared to like a group home setting where you've got, a dozen staff going, you're feeding everybody, you've got to, get the car, everything, all these extra expenses, the staffing costs are through the roof. You get that down to when you're paying one person in a place, the cost goes down dramatically for the system. May or may not be worth it for the care provider in the long run. And your liaison, whoever's in whatever office with whatever organization, to be candid, they probably care. They may well be wanting to do, help you as much as they can, but there may be very little that they can give. They probably have 20, 30, 40 clients on their roster. They may have very little experience dealing with the frontline, type of issues. I have found, in my experience, a lot of people who go up into the kind of the mid-management or that kind of thing, they don't really like the frontline work, and they've kind of wanted to get out of that. So these may not be, that's not always the case, but they may not be the people who really have a great familiarity with that. You might get a few who are really gung-ho and they're really interested in dissecting the issues, the psychological issues or whatnot. But a lot of people, not so much, not necessarily. This is, in a sense, very emotionally and psychologically and physically, it's dirty work. I mean, there's no getting around that. You're in the mud with this stuff. And sometimes in the literal urine and feces and dirt and everything with it, right? This is not clean work, And a lot of people don't like that. And I kind of understand why, but it's also kind of why, on a personal level, it's kind of annoying that there's a lack of appreciation really for the work that's being done here. So yeah, assume, and this is not what I thought or what I was told going in, but assume you're going to get very little or no support. That once you're in, once that contract is signed, assume that next to nothing is coming your way. If you have, behavioral issues come up or whatnot, it's like they're going to be, maybe you'll get 10 or 15% of what you're hoping for. And I kind of wish that weren't the case, but it is. And people didn't tell me this going in, but it's more the reality than it's not from my experience. Once you sign that contract, it becomes kind of a sink or swim. You got to either kind of make it work or you don't. And it's a daunting thing, because in my organization, anyhow, if you switch from frontline work to, the contract work, you lose every shred of seniority you have, you lose all your benefits, all that kind of thing. So you really gotta consider this in a real way. Excuse me, I just had a tickle in my throat. So yeah, assume no support. Also, yeah, no benefits, no pension, none of that. Be good with your money long term. If it looks like it's going to be a long-term contract, you may seriously, if you don't already, might want to consider buying a place, getting a mortgage, because the costs go up dramatically. If you're renting and you need a bigger place, and then all the extra expenses with that, my experience has been with the people who do that, there's very little left at the end of the day, even with what looks like a high dollar contract. So like, you'd be amazed that the money just disappears. I touched on that on an earlier video as well. So yeah, you may really want to think of its long-term contract if you want to get a mortgage, or put something aside each month. That appears to be kind of critical, because like I said, you're not paying into, if you're not doing into like a sort of a private retirement package or something, nothing's going into CPP. You're not getting any benefits from the organization. You're just doing this contracted work, and it seems like there's all this money coming in, but if you blow it all, then you're in a sense, you're worse off when the contract expires, because then you haven't, you haven't been contributing to, the pension fund or anything for all those years. So yeah, that's something I'd really advise people in that respect, to really think about what they're going to be doing financially, and to think ahead in those terms. Okay, that's it. Just wanted to touch on that. Again, good luck to everybody. Got any questions, leave them in the comments. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.